Cool. All right, good evening. Welcome to this public hearing for the budget fiscal year 2026. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Leslie's coming right up. Hold on. Well, you can come on up. But I just want to remind a couple things on a public hearing. But first, we have ADA devices up by Jeremiah. Just a reminder for everybody for the hearing aspect. Also, a public hearing is understood to be a forum for people interested in the subject matter to present information to the City Council for its consideration as it deliberates an issue. It is not a forum for debate or argument between members of the council or opponents or proponents or each other. Each speaker shall be limited to 5 minutes unless the City Council authorizes one extension of 3 minutes. And the presiding officer may terminate a presentation that is covering the same information as presented by a previous speaker. Such speakers shall be encouraged to simply state their agreement with the previous speaker and bring new information to the subject. Leslie, you ready to lead us off? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so tonight we will be talking about the 2025-2026 budget. The first slide we're going to talk about is basically all our funds calculated together. We're budgeting $101.87 million in revenues. And so for the general fund, that's about 31.6%. Proprietary funds, almost 31%. Special revenue funds 20%, and capital projects at 13.6%. And we will go through a lot of detail. And on the expenditure side, we're looking at budgeting $136.2 million. And similar percentages, I will say proprietary funds, the percentage is a little more, it's 43% of the total, whereas general funds 26.6, and special revenue is at almost 15%. This is very small one, but it is a summary of each type of fund and the actual fund and how much the revenues and expenditures, and then any estimated increase and decrease in fund balance for that particular fund. I will say that right now, and we'll say it several times, is that the shortfall of revenues over expenditures will be made up from reserves, either reserves we've set aside for projects, or either proceeds from a bond that we've been looking at. Make sure I keep that. The general fund looks like we're going to bring in $32.16 million, primarily from property taxes. That's 45% at $14.5 million. And the other largest, and I want to explain, is other financing sources. That is from transfers from other departments into the general fund, and primarily it is from the proceeds from the bond, because we're borrowing some money hopefully to do the Abernathy Park project, and we'll talk about that during the expenditure section. And then also some transfers for our fire department. We subsidize the fire from one of our special revenue funds, and our allocations. And we've talked about those before, but where we take general government and we allocate that cost out to the other funds to help. Gosh, help me out. Basically, so they pay for our part of what we do in general government for all funds. Sorry. And revenues, we're looking at $36.2 million. Expenditures. Thank you. And the largest of those is public safety, which includes fire and police. Culture and recreation is another large one, and they are recreation, art center, CAM, urban land management, and we're doing some projects for recreation with Abernathy Park, which is why it's a lot bigger than it usually is. This is where we're always interested, and these are our capital purchases, and then the next slide will be capital projects. We budgeted 11 vehicles to include 7 police vehicles. That's a little more than $700,000. The next largest piece of equipment is a street sweeper for $234,000, and then the next notable one is the 60-foot spider lift for $116,000, for a total of $1.2 million in capital purchases. The next slide is our capital projects in the general fund: downtown information building, the A-Bill sidewalk project, downtown streetscape, and the Abernathy Park improvements are the major projects in general fund.
The projects all cost a lot more than that. That's just the general fund portion of the projects.
This is a slide to explain about the property taxes. We are proposing a no millage increase for '26. And just to explain how the calculation works is if we took a $200,000 house that's owner occupied, it's assessed at 4%, which would give it a value of $8,000, and then the millage rate of 95 mills would cost the homeowner $760 in property taxes. Because we have a local option sales tax, we get a credit, and if we use the current year's credit percent, we would see a reduction of around $259, so the homeowner would pay not $760 but $500. In our general fund and citywide, we're only proposing 5 new positions: 1 in public buildings, 2 in police, and 3 for recreation, for a total estimated salary and benefits to be $343,600.
There is one position on there that's not mentioned, and it's not mentioned because it's not really a budgetary impact. It's the project manager. We're not filling 2 positions that we didn't need to fill this year, and we're going to create the position in the aggregate by combining those 2 salaries.
The proprietary funds, these are our business-like funds, and we're estimating the revenues to be $31.4 million and our expenditures to be $58.5 million. Again, the differences are the projects that we have primarily in the water and the wastewater funds, and transit also has some large capital purchases that we'll see. But the offset will be covered by bond proceeds that we collected in this year, the water and sewer bond that we issued this year, and then yes, and any reserves we already were saving for projects. Oh, and some grant money. So there is some grant money, and we'll talk some more about that as we go through the other funds. In the water fund, we primarily have our revenues from charges for services, which is where we collect the water bills. We're estimating our total revenues to be $6.9 million. The intergovernmental funds is transfers and, that's a grant. And I can't remember what this, the water project that we have the grants for. So that makes up the intergovernmental fund piece for 8.7%. And then other financing sources is part of the bonds. The rates that we're proposing that we go on inside city base fee from $14.17 a month to $15.59 a month, which is a difference of $1.42. The volumetric increase would go from $4.42 per thousand to $4.86 per thousand, and then irrigation from $1.54 to $1.69. These are all rates recommended per the rate study done by Will Dan. The water fund expenditures equal around 12.8 million, and of that, 7.96 million are projects and capital expenditures. Most notably, the water, the advanced metering infrastructure for 3 million, and that's being paid for by the bond proceeds. The water line replacements are different projects downtown, and they will also be funded by the either the grants that we got for Red Hill or the bonds that we collected this year. And then other equipment and trucks that they've asked, that have been requested. The wastewater fund, we're expected to collect $11.6 million, of which is $61.6 million in charges for services, and then 34% is a grant that we've received for a project, some pump station upgrades. And the rates that we're recommending, based on the rate study from Wildan, is to go from inside city base fee of $22.31 to $24.54 for a difference of $2.23 per month. And then the volumetric rate would go from $6 and a penny per thousand to $6.61 per thousand.
Or the baseline rate study we did a couple of years ago, but things are getting so tight that we do a study every year just to make sure we maintain that razor's edge. But for that to have held true for 2 years, it's a big deal. In the water, we did have to go up 1% more than planned, but that's because wholesale water went up almost 10%.
In the wastewater fund, the expenditures budgeted are $32.5 million, of which is $26 million in capital projects. 15 of that is for the Pendleton Clemson wastewater treatment plant, which again is part of the bond proceeds that we collect this year. There's some sewer rehab and replacement of $1.3 million that also will be used from the sewer treatment, the bond proceeds collected in 25. And then the pump station and trunk line repairs and rebuild, $8.5 million, and $4 million is the grant that we received, and the rest will be covered by the bond proceeds. That bond was $30 million, so just to let everyone know the magnitude of the amount that we borrowed to cover these projects. The capital purchases are, and I think Andy will explain one of them, the rotary sludge thickener, and a sewer jet, a locator, a golf cart, and a truck.
The jetter's that building with a tiger paw on it, and that cleans out all our clogs. It's a very vital piece of equipment. It's currently broken right now, I believe, so I'll be using a spare.
We do have one that is broken, but not one.
Okay. The rotary sludge thickener, that is something that we had to value engineer out of the Cochran Road plant project because we just didn't have enough money. The trade-off was that we were going to have to do more land application, which means the company comes in, takes the product out of the plant and goes applies it in the fields. We paid them every time they come to do that. This here is going to reduce the amount of times we have to have the product removed from the plant, and should reduce some expenses and actually allow the plant to run more efficiently based on its design.
The stormwater fund, the budgeted revenues are a little more than $800,000, primarily from our user charge, which is currently at $615 a month for residential, and we're proposing that it goes to $630 a month, and the commercial rate to go from $1845 to $1890. Again, this was based on the rate study done by Wildan. The expenditures for stormwater, $966,000. Of that is $310,000 in capital expenditures, And the largest project that makes that amount is Riggs Drive Drainage Extension. The sanitation fund. This fund is what accounts for residential and commercial garbage pickup. That does not include brush or white goods pickup. It is expected revenues of 1.9 million, of which 22% is a general fund transfer to cover the shortfall of what the fees collected less the revenues, the expenditures. So there's a proposed rate increase from $15 to $17 for residential roll carts and $18 to $20 for commercial roll carts. We don't have a slide for expenditures. There are no capital purchases requested, and so it's basically the $1.9 million is the expenditures for sanitation. The last, on this slide, we wanted to show the monthly impact on in-city customers for a household that uses 5,000 gallons of water in a month. It would increase their utility bill from the city by $11.09. And again, that's 5,000 gallons. The transit fund, CATBUS, it is primarily funded through grants and user partners that we have, and the city is one of those partners, so that other financing sources, that's the city's portion. The charges for services, the 2.5%, we have two properties in Pendleton who pay us to run a route to them, and so because they're private entities, they're not in the intergovernmental funds. The expenditures this year primarily, it's 9.7 million, and of that is 5.7 in capital, and that is primarily the the compressed natural gas buses and the filling station. And then there's one service vehicle, which is their large repair vehicle for the mechanic. Okay, capital project funds. I think we've talked about some of those in the past that we have. The ones that we've had for a long time, and so we only have 4 left. And so once we finish these 4 projects, then we won't have any capital projects funds. And that's why Abernathy is in the general fund, because we're gradually going to accounting for the projects in their appropriate funds. But the Art Center, so the revenues for all of them is 13.88 million, which is primarily the bond proceeds, but they're transfers. So we're getting the bond, and if we get it, in the hospitality fund, and we will transfer money out of the hospitality fee fund into the capital projects fund to fund these projects. It's a lot, and I know, but so each of these projects, these are the revenues that we will be moving into that fund on top of the reserves we already have in those funds. So this is why the expenditures are a good bit more, because we already have savings in some of these funds. Okay, so the Art Center, we're budgeting $8 million for that project. The Green Crescent Trail, there's different paths that they're extensions that they're budgeting and part of that is being paid for with some grant funds. And then Nettles Park, I'll come back to that one. Clemson Park is basically the final parts to the skate park, the splash pad, and the building rebuild. Nettles Park, and Andy can jump in too. we didn't budget any expenditure here, even though we did budget for the $15 million total or which one is it?
IPRB.
Okay, I said it right the first time, IPRB bond, but this gives you the ability to, we would have to do a budget amendment later if we do decide to do the whole 15 million and spend it. But we also are gonna be coming to you in July, hopefully, maybe, or August, because of the county's reassessment of property. We will have to redo the budget for that reassessment and have a budget amendment, because we're not sure where our millage rate will fall until we get all of the reassessment
So we
back.
can make it fit, whether you want to fund the event center or not. We still have time to make that amendment. But we went ahead and put it in there because when you do a budget, you can always decrease it without another reading and hearings, but you can't increase it.
Without a budget amendment, which is what, we will have that opportunity later if we need it. And then the last slide is by fund all of our capital project cost for fiscal year 2026. $69 million in projects and purchases for the citywide. And that's all I have.
We've been saving money for about 5 years to do a lot of these projects, and now we're on the action phase of it. And a lot of these utility projects too are occurring on the east side of town, which is all residential. A lot of the big stuff's on the other side of Highway 93. So, I mean, the university's growing, but no, just our residential section is growing as well.
Comments, questions? Thank you again, Leslie.
Thanks, Leslie.
Appreciate it. All right, from the public? Okay, I'll give it another chance. Any comments from the public? All right, well, at this time, unless I see anybody else, we will close out this public hearing and we'll reconvene for our regular city council. It is 6:24. We'll reconvene at our normal time at 6:30. It'll give us a 6-minute. I know we can start immediately. Y'all are gonna give me a hard time, I know. But we'll just give a 5-minute break. So, thank you very much. Ready? All right.
It's gonna be 3 weekends.
All right, welcome back, for the ones that are coming back or the ones that are coming now to our city council meeting this June 9th, 2025. Welcome. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We'll start off with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. You are welcome to join me in prayer. Thank you for allowing us to come together to discuss our community, working together for the betterment of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with restraint. Finally, give us strength to make this life better for all. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. All right, so just make sure. All right, so our next item, we're gonna skip down. We're getting ready to, it's exciting. We're getting ready to recognize the state champion, so that'll be cool. Hopefully it will all work out. If not, we'll make sure next Monday we recognize as well. But we'll turn it over to public session. Mayor Pro Tem.
Sure. So at this time, we're going to open the floor for public comment for public session. This is open to the public to make comments about anything that is not already on the agenda. If you would like to comment on anything regarding the agenda items, we will offer time when we get to them. Otherwise, the floor is yours. Okay, I have one that was submitted via the My Civic app for somebody who wasn't able to attend that I'll read now. This is from Miss Stephanie Platt at 103 Mountain View Lane. She wrote in, just wanted to ask when Calhoun Street and Pickens Streets will be repaved. I think during the summer when Clemson University is out would be a great opportunity to get it done. That way there will be less traffic to deal with. Also, months ago, the city installed a new water reading sensor on our meter. Am I the only one that has one of these? Because all water meters I have seen do not have one except for mine. If the others don't have one, why am I the only one? And again, that's from Miss Platt on Mountain View Lane. Any other public comments? Okay.
All right. It's very quiet. So next is the possible approval of minutes, May 19th of 2025. Would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments, discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next, we'll go into reports and discussion. First is to receive a report from Emma Martin, Miss Clemson University 2025. Welcome. I'm going to read your bio real quickly first. So yes, hold on. So Emma Martin is a rising senior at Clemson University, majoring in marketing and actively involved in a multitude of campus and community initiatives. She's making history as the first ever Miss Clemson University to compete for the title of Miss South Carolina, inspired by the loss of both grandfathers to heart disease, one before she was born and the other age 13. Emma founded Beat by Beat, empowering hearts for healthier future to turn personal pain into purpose. Her initiative focuses on education, advocacy, access to life-saving resources across South Carolina. As the next Miss South Carolina, I like how you said that. As the next Miss South Carolina, Emma plans to expand Beat by Beat through legislative efforts, school and community programming, and statewide partnerships, ensuring every South Carolinian has the tools to protect their heart and live a longer and healthier life. Welcome. The floor is yours. Come on up. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that awesome introduction. My name is Emma Martin, to introduce myself formally. I'm the first Miss Clemson University to be competing for the title of Miss South Carolina, which is something that I never thought I would say. I grew up doing pageants, and I didn't know that I would find my voice through them. I feel like most people that don't do pageants just think that, you know, it's for pretty girls that like to wear gowns on stage, very superficial, but it's not. It's much more. I'm full of intelligence, beauty, grace, but most importantly, kindness, and I want to help others. And I think that through the Miss South Carolina organization, that's going to be my outlet to success. So I check in just 10 days, which is insane to say. I've prepared relentlessly for 4 months. I won my title February 1st, so I've only had 4 months to achieve as much as I can. I've worked with the American Heart Association, the Go Red for Women campaign, and recently the Clemson Family Wish organization, which is a new nonprofit that started last year. And I'm feeling so grateful and I'm feeling so empowered by doing all of these things because 2 years ago I took a break from pageants. I was a freshman 2 years ago that had no idea what I wanted to do, and I was so confused about myself and like what my purpose was. But it's funny enough that I started my mission with Miss South Carolina Teen back in 2020, right after my grandfather passed away. And this was the second one to pass away from heart disease, which was very, very hard to go through for a second time. And the first grandfather I didn't even get to meet, so it stung twice, if not harder. And I felt like there were so many people across South Carolina that have so many heart issues, but so many health issues that they don't know that can lead to heart disease. And it's the #1 killer in South Carolina, and it's not talked about enough. There is the American Heart Association, and then there is the Go Red for Women campaign, but who's actively taking charge of the Gen Z kind of perspective? Because people are like, oh, I'm not gonna get heart disease till I'm older, or even if I get it at all. We all think we're invincible until we're not. And I know my grandfather picked me up from school, not anticipating to never see me again that day. I, went to church that evening, and that was the last time I got to say goodbye and give him a hug. And I never want any other little girl to go through that, and I don't want you all to go through that either. I encourage you to go get your heart screenings, move your body, eat healthy, take care of yourself while you can, because I know that you want to spend longer time with your families too. And I'm sorry to get emotional, I am the empath, so it gets me every time. But seriously, it's such a cause that I'm passionate about. So thank you for listening, and thank you for letting me come.
Thank you for sharing. Thank
Thanks for
you.
sharing. And if it's okay, we'll take a picture of everybody that's called right after. We got, no, you're good. So next is to receive a report from Miss South Carolina Teen. Speaking of Miss South Carolina Teen, USA 2024. And if it's okay, I'm gonna read your bio. So Jules Grass, Miss South Carolina Teen USA 2024 proudly hails from Clemson. A former honor student at Daniel High School, she earned her dual enrollment and AP credits and was awarded over $100,000 in college scholarships. Now beginning her sophomore year at Clemson University, she's majoring in sports communication and dreams of becoming a sports broadcaster at ESPN. She's deeply passionate about empowering women to the male-dominated sports industry and using her voice to inspire others. Driven by a heart for service and leadership, she's actively involved in her sorority, Kappa Kappa Gamma, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and serves with the youth. At Fuse, at her church, she has maintained all A's during her freshman years. Also, outside of academics, she loves to stay active with yoga, Pilates, pickleball. We've got new courts. She also signed a model with the Ford Agency in Atlanta, Georgia. And this year, she's dedicating her reign to promoting women in sports, advocating for breast cancer research, and raising awareness for muscular dystrophy, causing that especially close to her and her family's heart. She's humbled and honored to serve the state of South Carolina and is committed to making a meaningful impact throughout her year. Thank you for being here, and it's awesome that you're from Clemson. We love that. So come on up. Yeah, the floor is yours as well.
Hey y'all, thank you so much for having me this evening. I'm Jules Grice, as he said, and I'm a Clemson student. I will be beginning my sophomore year in Clemson in the fall. So I am a local girl. I graduated from Daniel High School. Go Lions and go Tigers. So I love being close to home. It's been a really big blessing this year, being close to my family. I've competed 4 years to win a state title, and so this past June, it's coming up on a year, I won the title Miss South Carolina Teen USA, and after lots of hard work, I was blessed to earn this title, and it means so much to me, and just the opportunities it's given me. It has been really amazing, and the connections I've made from everyone I've touched and got to meet has been absolutely amazing. So I'm just so grateful for this platform, and like I said, I want to become a ESPN sports broadcaster, so that sports is a very male-dominant field, as we all know, and so I've been able to dedicate my year of promoting women in sports, and so no better place than to do it at Clemson University, which have a great communication program, and so that's my major right now. And so I've loved learning more about what all clubs and organizations Clemson has to offer, and so that's been a blessing this year, being able to work really close with that, and cannot wait to continue to work with Clemson. And so I've loved it, and I've gotten to go around all these different elementary schools in the state of South Carolina, speaking to them about confidence and embracing their God-given path. And so that's just been such one of my highlights this year, is being able to go around the state and to speak to the youth and to really encourage them that no dream is ever too big. And growing up, I was a self-doubter and I didn't have much confidence, and so being able to give back to them has truly meant the world to me. I actually moved to Clemson my sophomore year of high school, so being able to come and speak to y'all is truly amazing, which Clemson is where most of my journey has unfolded. So being able to have this opportunity tonight has meant so much to me, and I'm just so grateful to be here and stand and talk to you all. So I have, like I said, loved this year so much, and I'm so honored to be the current Miss South Carolina Team USA, and just the blessings and opportunities it's given me are truly amazing. So it's just, I'm so grateful to have spoken to y'all today. So.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you both for making such an impact to our community. We appreciate it. If it's okay, we'll take a group picture. Is that cool? Yep. We all know where to stand now.
We do? Yeah.
I was gonna let you guys assemble first.
Oh, your height is being matched, yeah.
We got a couple, we got a few. Appreciate it.
Bree's leaning it over more than Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Oh, so beautiful.
Thank you for letting us.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I hope to see you Friday.
Yes.
So excited.
Everybody's been invited.
Thank you so
Everybody's been
much.
invited.
Thank you for listening.
You're more than welcome to stay and listen to the whole city council meeting, but we also know that you have other priorities within the community. So this is your opportunity. It's up to you. So, yes. Well, we appreciate you being here. Thank you. Your family as well. So thank you. So, Bree is coming up next. Oh, actually, correction, sorry. Lauren, where's Lauren? Oh, there she is. Okay, there's Lauren. All right, sorry. Next, we're going to receive a tourism update on the impact of hosting Savannah Bananas in Memorial Stadium. So thank you, Lauren, for letting us know. Obviously, we know it was a great event, but now you're going to tell us the economic impact. So thank you.
Absolutely. I have a small little handout for everybody to follow along with me as I tell you all the great things that Banana Ball has brought us.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Absolutely. You're very welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. All right, so I will introduce myself. My name is Lauren Gannett, and I am the Tourism and Community Events Coordinator for the city. And I'm here to talk to you guys about the exciting thing called Banana Ball. So we had the opportunity to host the Savannah Bananas this past April in partnership with the university at Clemson's Memorial Stadium. The city was asked to invest $50,000 into this opportunity. And so a little bit about the Savannah Bananas. They have a massive following due to their fans first approach. They're very interactive with their fans. They have contests and games on the field throughout the event, and they don't play like traditional baseball. They kind of make up their own rules, which makes it even sillier. And so they are compared to the likes of the Harlem Globetrotters. Just very entertaining. Okay. So I will talk about the overall economic impact at a glance. I spoke with our hotels and our restaurants and shops to kind of get a feel for what they experienced with having these fans in town. And both the hotels and the restaurants said that they saw a boost in sales, and the general consensus was that business was not quite as comparable to a big rivalry game, but pretty close. And it was nice to hear that the hotels, they had a boost in not only sales, but also their rates and stays. So that was good. Okay. So the accommodations tax in April 2024 was around $40,000. In April 2025, it was around $47,000. So there was a gain of $7,000 in revenue. I surveyed our hotels and asked them about how much they charged per night for a room for Savannah Bananas, and it was around $350 to $400 a night. We have 753 hotels within the city, within our hotels, at $375 a night. A rough estimate at one overnight stay equals $282,000 then plus taxes and fees. So I used that $282,000 to calculate the total estimated economic impact, and that came to $846,000 roughly. And I took that $282,000 times 3, which is my multiplier, and that's how I got that number. And the multiplier of 3 represents the amount of times this money circulated throughout the economy. On to hospitality tax. Now this one I found to be really interesting. April 2024, the receipts were $236,800, and the April 2025 receipts were $233,400. So that means that we brought in $3,400 less in revenue than the year prior. So we came to the conclusion that the sale of food and beverages inside the stadium may have had an impact on the hospitality tax. Also, it was a family-friendly event. I know there are a lot of families with young kids there, and families with young kids are less likely to head downtown after the event and, so to speak, bar hop. That could have been another factor as well. Okay.
I think it's also the first day that the university served alcohol in the stadium as well.
Yes.
So I'm
that's
sure
right.
that there was
There's
probably,
an impact there.
yeah, a thought about that. Maybe.
Thank you, Lillian. That's, yeah.
First day was spring game, actually.
Yeah,
And
but
then first
the
big,
excitement for
yes,
that might have
yes,
had an
yeah.
impact as well.
Good point.
Okay. All right, so I did a little event comparison with the Savannah Bananas World Tour versus a pretty big rivalry game for us, the Notre Dame at Clemson football game that was dated for November 4th, 2023. Okay. So if you look at this chart here, I ran the numbers for locals versus visitors. So we had total visitors for Savannah Bananas at 91,300 visitors. And out of those visitors, the out-of-town visitors number ran 40,900. And then the local attendees number ran 50,400. So we did have an uptick in visitors, out-of-town visitors, 50 plus miles out, versus local visitors. So how this data is gathered, I think would be good to know, is the data is gathered through software called Placer AI, and how they do this is they gather info through mobile location data from opted-in mobile devices. So whenever you're in an area, and a little pop-up comes up and says, can we access your current location? If you say allow, then that's how they collect this data. And how they keep this data from getting too personal is that the data is stripped of personal identifiers like names, physical addresses, things like that to protect the privacy of our visitors. So it's a really cool system. So then compared to the Notre Dame versus Clemson game, we had a total of 79,700 visitors. We had our out-of-town visitor number was 49,200. And then our local attendees number was 30,500. Okay, and same goes with the data collection for all of this, really. Just okay.
That's about 12,000 more attended the Savannah
Yes,
Bananas.
yes, ma'am. So it's a pretty good number, I think. All right, so the visitor origin and reach for the Savannah Bananas game, I ran a report on zip codes. So with this data collection, Placer AI collects the zip code of the person's home base. So the top 10 zip codes of visitors whose home base is 50 plus miles away consists of visitors from Lexington, South Carolina, Chapin, South Carolina, Aiken, Greenwood, Inman, so on and so forth. So this tells me that those areas, those markets would be great to promote Clemson as like a long weekend destination. You know, come spend the weekend with us, come do outdoor activities, things like that. Okay. And then with Notre Dame, the people that attended the Notre Dame game came mostly from Mount Pleasant, Lexington, Charleston, and Rock Hill. There are multiple different zip codes on here for like Charleston and Mount Pleasant. So that's something to take into consideration. Okay, and then here's a fun little map on the visitor and origin reach for the Savannah Bananas. So if you see here, the darker the area means the higher the density of visitors from those zip codes, and the lighter area equals the lower density of visitors from those zip codes. So you'll see here the dark blue is the high density in places like Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Columbia, Spartanburg, and Rock Hill. And it was interesting to find that low density existed within Asheville and the Athens area. Okay, and then for Notre Dame, same thing, the darker areas and lighter areas. There was high density in places like Charleston, Rock Hill, Columbia, Spartanburg, and the Hilton Head areas. And then we did have low density representation from Atlanta and the Augusta areas for the game. So that's pretty interesting too, different areas, different crowds. Okay, so this is another fun little map. It's our heat map. And as you can see here in the image, the red circle identifies the 50-mile radius. So everything outside of that red circle is more than 50 miles. So the red on the heat map is high density, and the blue on the heat map is low density. You can see that a lot of people came from Atlanta, Charlotte, and pretty much all over South Carolina. There's not a lot of negative space within the state of South Carolina.
What's interesting is Charlotte, there's a huge presence, and they just sold out 2 nights in Charlotte this past weekend.
I saw that.
80,000 or whatever, 75, 74,
Right.
74 each night, so that's what, yeah.
We did.
We had more, that's right.
We got that.
They did have 2 nights, but okay, go ahead. We had more.
Yeah, so I mean, there's demand for this kind of event in our area and the surrounding areas. Okay. And then the heat map for the Notre Dame versus Clemson game, you can see that there's still a pretty high density in the red, but not as much as the Savannah Bananas game, which makes sense because we had more visitors in general for the Savannah Bananas game than we did for the Clemson Notre Dame game. So just a fun thing to look at. And then visitor origins on a national scale. So I ran the zip code report for all 91,000 plus people that came and polled the states of representation. So most states were represented at least once, except for Oregon, California, Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, Oklahoma, Iowa, Michigan, Rhode Island, Alaska, and Hawaii. So I think that's pretty impressive. So we had a zip code from at least one zip code from each of those states with a difference in them. So, which was pretty fun. And that's all I have for you guys. And I just wanted to thank you so much for your continued support. for the tourism efforts in Clemson.
So,
And you guys have any questions for me?
remind everybody where the 50,000 comes from, our investment.
I'm sorry?
Where we got the 50,000 for our investment, how it's, where it comes from, what
Oh,
account.
the accommodation tax
Tell
fund.
them- Yeah, just remind everybody.
Yes.
It was not from the general operating budget.
No, the $50,000 investment came from the accommodations tax fund. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we pay for that software?
Yes, we do. And it comes out of the tourism.
And then we can use it to analyze football games?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
That's amazing.
Isn't it fun? Once I really got in there and familiarized myself with it, I was clicking on everything and anything and downloading stuff I didn't even need, but I thought it was cool. It's a very cool
The
program.
chamber has it as well. Brian, I'm calling you out. The chamber has that capability as well, so.
So of the 91,000 people, how many do we have zip codes for?
All 91,000?
They all opt in?
Yes, each individual visitor,
Got the data.
we have their zip code information.
None of them opt out.
Not that we're aware of.
There may have been more than 91,000 people.
That's
Right,
true.
right, but
Those who did
91 were
opt
what we
out.
had data for.
That's
yeah.
true. Yeah.
Just like for the Clemson football game, there's more than 79,000 people here, but, yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for your time.
Appreciate you
Thanks.
sharing.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's interesting. They still talk about that game.
All right, Bree. So Bree's getting ready to discuss the process of appointing a poet. And always, let me make sure I'm pronouncing it. Laureate? Laureate? Yes. I want to make sure okay, thank you. So we appreciate your due diligence already, because we've already seen it through the agendas and other times, so thank you.
So we had a resident, Joanna Schumann, she's in her early 90s, and she reached out to the mayor personally, but y'all also may remember she did attend a city council meeting in April presenting the idea of the city of Clemson appointing a Clemson Poet Laureate, who, just a quick recap, is an officially appointed poet who promotes poetry through events, workshops, different readings. States have their own state poet laureate. Fun fact, there's only 3 states who do not have a poet laureate. South Carolina does have one that's appointed by the governor, and of course cities have poet laureates as well. In South Carolina, Greenville, Charleston, Columbia, and Rock Hill already have poet laureates. Just get some facts. So, since this resident wanted us to look into this, I did reach out to our neighbors in Greenville and talk to their communications and engagement director as well as their cultural arts manager, and they gave me some insight of how their experience has been with their poet laureate that I've shared with you. They've also shared their documents with us, which was very kind, and introduced factors, if we would want to proceed with this, of things that would need to be discussed, like a stipend, a term length, and other factors like that for it. So this is just to present if this is a position that we're interested in and the process to appointment.
There's some things we need to know from y'all, like term, we're thinking 2 years as a starting point, maybe a $500 stipend. And we need to know if you guys, and you can make these whatever you want, I'm just throwing out what we've seen by looking at other communities. We also, most of them, the ones we saw anyway, aren't limited to the city, they say the county of the cities. And
As a resident.
as a resident of the county. So those are the 3 things, like, we put blanks in there.
I feel like terms longer might be better than shorter. I was looking at the South Carolina, we've only had 5 in the history. The first one served 40-something years. Who knows, maybe somebody would want to serve for that long, but I don't know if limiting the term, maybe that's an option.
You don't have to have a term, really.
Just appoint and then see how that goes. I think limiting the term to 2 years seems a little too short, though.
How long has the one in Greenville been serving? Is it like 6 years? I'm just curious. It's not a big deal. Didn't mean
I have term limits. You have to
You can just type her up on city agreement.
You have a term and you can reappoint, like you do a 3-year term and people can always reappoint.
It doesn't say.
Yeah, I think I like, we could do a 3-year appointment, then reappoint.
That's true, yeah.
We need a stipend. We're gonna do the honorary.
I don't know what that's for. It's just common practice.
Well, I mean, don't they go to the elementary schools and do that type of thing? And if they're in the county as well, if they go to Liberty from here, gas,
Yes.
just something, you know,
Food and fuel.
yeah.
If they're
yeah.
involved with any arts center
Yeah.
program.
Yeah, that makes sense. if you're
Just a
required
little
to do
stipend, nothing but to help pay for gas.
You know, and that brings up a point that I know this would be on the city of Clemson. We should be reaching out to Pickens County to see if they want to partner with us to help us. Just a thought.
We're talking about the city of Clemson, not Pickens County.
Exactly. So if we're gonna
Right.
expand out of Pickens County, all of us should be in it together, possibly. And I'm not trying to complicate it. I'm just saying that here's what we're thinking about. If we decide to move down this path, it'd be nice to reach out to the county and say, hey, what are your thoughts? And then hopefully they would join in and help with that stipend. Thank you.
But right now, there are only 4 cities in South Carolina. Or did the others not show up?
I don't know, it just has just 4 right now that are doing it. I guess whoever is showing interest.
And they're the larger ones too.
Yes.
You said Charleston, Columbia, Greenville,
Yeah,
That's Rock Hill.
and Rock Hill,
yeah.
the bigger, larger ones.
Yeah, the South Carolina State Library says it's only those 4 cities. Interesting.
South Carolina's.
We haven't had a state one since 2020.
Other questions, comments?
I think it's a great idea, especially with the emphasis that we're putting on the Arts Center as like a tourism drive and the participation from the community. I think this is just an added layer of, it's another art source that we don't really have represented right now, so it's great.
That's good for the kids.
Yeah,
Gives the kids exposure. I mean, you teach them poetry and haikus and stuff in elementary school, and having somebody come out and come talk to the kids, I think is great.
Great.
Greenville mentioned that they, like opportunities that they utilize, like April is National Poetry Month, and there's a Poem in Your Pocket Day, which I believe is also in April. And even with their temporary murals, they partner with the artists and do poems and different workshops with adults. So there's, I mean, it's kind of like opportunities are endless for this type of thing.
I'm sure Joan will have lots of ideas.
Exactly, yeah.
Love it.
Good idea to reach to the county, see if the county wants to do it with us. That gives us a wider catchment area of poets.
Maybe they can have a dry erase board in the market.
I don't,
She just said it's good to reach out to the county to expand that reach, and yes, the regional impact, yes.
Cheryl also had a comment in the email she sent to everyone that was a good catch. Something we might want to put in there, saying that we weren't going to be reviewing things they did on their own time, but only things related to the city, so that you wouldn't be stifling them
They're artistic.
artistically for anything beyond what they did for the city.
So like if they were commissioned for something specific, like a mural or something, that could be reviewed, but obviously we don't want to interfere with the artist. That makes sense.
well, okay, I opened up this Pandora's box, but if we are having one for Clemson, then they need to be Clemson. I don't know if Pickens County, I misread, if it's that they live in Pickens County, because not everybody lives in Clemson. They might live in Central or going toward Liberty. But if we're gonna be the one, you know, wanting it, then I think it should be the city of Clemson, not Pickens County and Clemson, or Clemson, Pickens County.
No, I think the purpose was that it would be a resident of the county as the city of Clemson's poet laureate.
Could be a resident.
Yes, but we were gonna reach out to, she wanted to reach out to
Hopefully,
Pickens County to get their input and stuff. I don't know if that's necessary.
Well, that's just more of knowing that they'll be going to different schools throughout the whole county, not just
Right.
Clemson, and so that's what we were thinking about.
Maybe
this
after
expand-
appointment.
Yeah, after appointment, reaching out, it was just more of a thought process, and they may decide to do their own thing, but we would have
Yeah.
somebody that represents the city of Clemson that could possibly, he or she could possibly reach out beyond the city limits sometimes with some of the area schools. That's what we were thinking, so, makes sense?
No?
Nope, okay.
I think if we do it, I understand that concern though, Alma, and I think if we were to appoint on our own and have our, like, the city controls the appointment and this, responsibility, then that person could choose to educate in the community beyond the lines of Clemson.
I would think that the elementary schools and the county would be very interested and want to have
Right.
them come and talk, like Adam said,
Yeah.
for the children. So I don't think that will be, going to the schools is gonna be a problem, gonna have more and she can say grace over, he or she will have more to say grace over. I just wanna be careful with the county involvement, that's all.
I understand.
Because I know what the response will probably be, so.
Other comments, questions? Bree, thank you for all the due
Yeah.
diligence.
Thanks,
We
Bree.
appreciate it.
So next to bring this back to you for policy action, I'm hearing 3-year term, then you can decide to reappoint. Want a $500 or $1,000 stipend? $500, and must be a Pickens County resident.
Yes.
Okay.
Just looking at the other
Then
terms
we'll
of
add,
service, duties and
language
requirements,
you
yeah.
caught earlier.
I'm sorry?
And we'll also add the language Dr. Cheryl
About review
shared
of
early,
materials.
just about reviewing only city-related things.
Yeah, because the way it's worded right now, yeah.
All right, thank you. Brian, you're next to discuss fiscal year 2026 CAT bus agreements.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Brian Fisher, of course, and this is Megan, my assistant. She's kind of my right hand when it comes to these contracts. After 3 months, I'm learning who knows what and how to do what. So we come before you today to give you just a quick update on our contracts. We have 6 contracts in total, dropping Seneca, which would have been the 7th contract. So as of July, the period of July 25th to June, we no longer have Seneca. The 6 contracts that we do have, all but 2 of them are the same from the previous year. So with that being said, we're gonna open up with Clemson University. Clemson's is a change in their service. They've changed the red route service hours to 1,900 hours. And the gold route to 3,000 hours, which is basically a 15-minute service increase on the red route. And that's gonna be, that service will be extended to 6:30 is what's going on there, Monday through Thursday. And our gold route is going to have a 30-minute increase, or it's gonna run in frequency of 30-minute service all day. So that increase there. On there, we show the grant eligibility of the gold route. The triple route that you see there is going to be our football games and those kind of shuttle in between there. However, all of that is grant eligible. The gold route is not grant eligible because it's only serviced 2 years. It needs 3 years in service before it can be grant eligible. We have the Pierce route, that remained the same, which is the pier at Clemson. High Point Piers remain the same. All of those are grant eligible. The town of Pendleton, again, all of those are the same. And The initial route is grant eligible, however, Saturday service, fall festival, cop shop, and spring jubilee are not. They're just contracts, small contracts for various services that we offer. I'm gonna skip the town of Central and come right down to the city of Clemson and do our Camp Clemson. Again, they're not grant eligible, and the Clemson Recreation is not grant eligible. None of their contracts changed. I skipped the town of Central because there is a change there. In the town of Central, we actually cut their service. They requested that a service cut because they're no longer servicing Southern Wesleyan. And for them to be able to afford not to have that, we had to cut back on their service. So I'll allow Megan, because Megan literally worked on that project, to kind of explain it to you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is the first time I'm doing this, so I'm a little nervous. But like Mr. Fisher said, I have been with CAPUS for 10 years this coming November. This is my first council meeting. So the reason why I'm here is to explain the breakdown of the Central route. Andy actually asked me to come and do this for y'all. In last year's contract, the 24-25 fiscal year contract, the town of Central was allotted to pay $47,000 for their grant service, or for their bus service, and Southern Wesleyan was supposed to pay $18,000. The Southern Wesleyan did not pay their portion. They did not even sign the contract. So we are in negotiations with the town of Central on that, to try to get that kind of squared away. With that being said, after talking to Administrator Mishu, he agreed that he would do what we had to do to make things right for last year's fiscal year contract, but he does want to do cut a service for this year. Normally, the Central bus runs Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and it runs Friday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sunday noon to 4. And last year, that gave them a grand total of 2,202 hours, with leaving the town of Central to pay $47,236. This coming year, what we have agreed to is to provide 1,482 hours of service. That'd be 7 to 5 Monday through Thursday, and then 7 to 10 on Friday with no weekend service. And that would bring them down to $44,460. I have sent the contract over to Administrator Mishu. He's spoken with the mayor, and they are in the works to get that signed and get sent back to us. So they are in full agreement.
I got a question. So you're telling me that I know we were providing Central Wesleyan service, but so this past year, they just didn't pay?
No, sir, they did not, and I've reached out to the president twice asking, to meet with them, and we've not.
Do we have any idea of what the ridership was, even though they didn't pay?
I don't have that information off the top of my head, but I'd be happy to email it.
That's fine, I just was curious as much as.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that was the only option because he had talked about just not going out there, but the way that it works is even if you go out of a stop, your frequency won't change. So it'll still have to remain an hour-long service regardless if we go to school or not. And our biggest concern was the Jericho kids because we have several older females who live out in that area who they use our bus service to get back and forth to work because it's kind of like the Clemson Life program. And so we wanted to ensure that even when the red route doesn't go all the way out there, that we can still get the Central bus to get them where they need to go.
So that's that, right there before you get to Central Wesleyan on the right, is that right?
Yes, sir, right there at that bus shelter.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, because like I said, if you cut a stop, that's just changing the route structure. That's not changing the frequency at the time. So there wasn't a way for them to follow them budget, even if we cut out that stop.
Now, our turnaround point is that Jericho,
it's
so
still
it
gonna
works
be
out
that
where we're
shelter,
able to
yeah.
service them and still do what they're asking.
Yes, we'll still be able to service, and their route won't change, just the frequency of service.
Interesting. Well, maybe this will help get a call back from the president of Southern Wesleyan.
Yeah, we're hopeful. We're hopeful.
When you're a brand new director in a city, you get one chance to see something for the first time. Brian came into CAP, saw it for the first time, and he is a people person. So he gets out and talks to everybody and starts asking questions, and he starts finding people that have talent we had no idea was going on. Megan being one, who who has embraced taking on a lot more responsibility and quite frankly, impressed me considerably when she was, how quickly she came up with a plan for how to keep Central whole with the dollars they had. Had a really good understanding of the system and how to make that work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Maggie.
very much.
Thank you.
Very good. Good job.
Joe, you were nervous, it's all good.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is to discuss the notice of application for state issued certificate of franchise authority by Spectrum Southeast LLC. Andy.
All right, whenever a new utility wants to operate in your service area, they have to go to the state and get a franchise agreement. Local municipalities really don't have a lot to determine in that process anymore, but what you can determine is the franchise fee rate. And if you consent or not, but I think if you don't consent, I don't even know if that's a relevant question. Michael might be able to back into that, but it used to be back in the day that you would be able to negotiate with them a little bit, saying if you want to serve these areas that have a lot of customer potential, in order to get that, you've got to go over here and serve like Moore Branch, someplace that doesn't have that sort. Can't do that anymore. So pretty much, we're saying franchise fee rate of 5%. By law, they're supposed to notify you when they apply for a permit. They have notified us. I'm making you aware of that notice. They did it within the required number of days. And when this comes back to you on policy action, it's basically going you to approve a franchise agreement with Spectrum with a franchise fee of 5%. Any other legal stuff I need to mention?
Unless you want to sue to invalidate a number of state laws under the constitutional provision in South Carolina that provides that municipalities have the right to determine who uses their ways, essentially, then everything Andy just said.
I'll pass this down.
Comments, questions? Not? Thank you. All right. Next is to discuss adding language to Chapter 2, Section 44, Public Comment Ordinance to address the promotion of business-like activities. Councilman Jones.
So this is just a bit of housekeeping, to put it out to you guys to talk about, for public comment. I don't believe that is meant for, advertising business services or goods or commercial enterprise. There is a point at the end of the meeting where anybody can speak up for anything or, project or event that's going on in town. But it's not clarified in our public comment ordinance. Jeremiah has provided a sheet that has a sample from Easley. It is, speakers shall not use the public comment period to promote or advertise awards, businesses, services, goods, or candidates for public office. I don't know that that's exactly what we want to do, but wanted to put it to you guys to think about.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna add it in, you've got that nice rundown that we put on the back of the agenda.
Yeah.
You could nestle it in the section 3.
It's a good idea for clarity.
Doesn't have to be big, just something to clarify that it's not an advertising opportunity.
Right. Makes sense.
Yes.
I think everybody's pretty much nodding their heads. So thank you for bringing that up. You get the, Jones, you got the next one as well. Discuss an amendment to the Ethics and Code of Conduct Statement for elected and appointed officials.
And this was just another piece of housekeeping. This was something we talked about back in January. We had talked about, with the boards, doing some professionalization of how the documentation was going to them. They received a letter from the mayor talking about attendance and some of the expectations. This was to make sure that all of council is very comfortable with how their professional actions and code of conduct, the expectations of board members is being communicated from council to all the boards. And Andy's done a couple of, Andy's done a couple of amendments to it to add it to the code of conduct. If you guys want to change that, that's fine. I just didn't want to let it get forgotten.
I think the one that I like the addition of a lot is stating that members of commissions would refrain from speaking against or in favor of a matter that would be deliberated by their board. I think that is extremely important.
Yes.
I agree completely.
Yes.
And that's gotta be in that letter, and I mean, it's gotta be really in that letter.
I think that addition is very important.
I agree.
And I don't necessarily think anything's got to be signed. It's just something we send out as, hey,
Expectations.
this is a baseline expectation. As a member of council, we represent the citizens of Clemson. As a member of a board, you also are charged to represent the citizens of Clemson on that board.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it or not, you are now an ambassador of the city of Clemson,
Correct.
and we expect it to be professional.
And none of that's dissimilar from getting a job.
Exactly.
You get a job in most places, it's very much expected that you will professionally represent that organization, university, bank, whatever. This is just putting it in words so that all the board members see it.
Right. I agree.
The only clarification I would probably say is that's outside of the discussions, correct? That would be outside of
They're
deliberation.
in their meetings.
Right, so I think we want to make sure that they understand it's outside their meetings, not during the meetings. Because if you say it the way it's written, it makes it seem like they can't talk about it during their meetings. So you want to probably make it clear
So the
that
one,
it's outside of.
12.
yeah, so it says, that is the same number. I was thinking it was different, but it is the same. Yeah, we can, I think that's a good point. Clean it up to make sure, like, yeah,
Absolutely.
stick to official businesses.
Yeah, so, because outside of the meetings, definitely, but inside the meetings, you should be able to speak whether you were against or in favor of any matter that's being deliberated.
Otherwise, you can't talk at all.
It's when you're out in public representing the city.
Right,
Yes.
but that's what I'm saying, you gotta, I think you want to make sure that's clear.
Right, exactly, good.
We'll make a tweet.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you again. Thanks for bringing both those up. Next is staff reports. Andy.
Just gonna remind you that Ally and I will be out the latter part of this week at the city county managers meeting. Jeremiah does have the rooms information for MASC, so if you're planning to go, you can see him about accommodations. Once again, we drew the short straw, and chances are we're not going to be staying at the conference hotel, but what I usually do is rent a car, and I'll be your bus, and I'll take you to and from. So don't let that be a distraction or a deterrent if you don't want to go. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Next is policy action. Just a reminder, 2-minute limit per speaker. First is consider second reading of 2024 R04 proposed text amendment, bonding commercial space and mixed-use developments. Jacob, but I don't see Jacob, so Nathan. So yeah, deferred. So there you go.
Jacob's at a conference this week in Rhode Island, which is where he's from, so it was a good time for him to get out. Nothing's really changed from the last time that I presented this. Remember, this is to incentivize developers to fill their vacant spaces by the city issuing a bond for a certain amount at the beginning of that, that we would call later on if that wasn't filled after a certain amount of time.
This is with the 150%.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, okay. I remember.
Only in mixed-use developments, particularly in the downtown, is what we're talking about.
But it would apply statewide, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I love it.
Thank you. From the public. Somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion, oops, sorry. that we approve the second reading of 2024-R04, proposed text amendment regarding bonding commercial space and mixed-use developments.
Second.
Comments, discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next is consider first reading of our ordinance to adopt the fiscal year 2026 operating budget. Leslie, welcome back again.
Yes, we are asking you to consider the first reading, which includes keeping the millage rate at 95 mills, 5 new employees, the proposed rate increases for water, wastewater, stormwater, and sanitation.
Thank you for all the work that went into this.
Absolutely, the whole team, thank you.
Yeah.
I have to
Making
say,
it easy to understand.
Sarah did a fabulous job. I cannot take credit
Kudos
for
to
that.
Sarah, thank
Yes.
you.
She has added some stuff that goes into the front end of it, talking about how we budgeted to meet the goals in Clemson next, and the goals you guys presented in the work session. She created these charts.
Bless you.
Every
Bless
year
you.
it's easier and easier to wrap my head around, so thank you guys.
Her goal is to submit it for the GFOA budget award, so
Yes,
we're
absolutely.
getting really close.
Nice.
We're meeting those criteria, so.
Cool. Thank you, Leslie.
Okay.
All right. Comments from the public? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the first reading of an ordinance to adopt the fiscal year 2026 operating budget.
Second.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of tight. Jeremiah, you pick. Comments? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you all very much. Thank you again, Leslie, and your whole team. Next, Mayor Council reports, comments, new business. I'll start real quickly. This Saturday, here I have to do this again, sorry. I have to. If you get a chance, if you heard about it Saturday morning, there was the open water swim. What a great turnout. I'm gonna get you, bless you. I'm gonna get you. I did not swim in this, John. So I did the paddle the week before at 12 Mile, and I did come in last, but I did 6 miles.
I'm impressed.
So there you go. You notice I'm a little defensive on that one. But I did do the 6 mile paddle the week before. But another example, just for everybody to know, 12 miles being used in a great way. It's a wonderful asset. There were 84 teams for the paddle. But I wanted to mention this open water swim. There were 386 athletes that started early Saturday morning. A lot of those are coming into our community early, spending the night, spending money in our community, but most importantly, just a successful event. If you'll get to, I know we're getting ready to post something on the city later on this evening tomorrow about the event. I just wanted to highlight just a great, and there are a lot of residents participating with boats and helping out with safety. So just a great, and the YMCA, Foothills YMCA participated as well, and they did a really nice job supporting all the athletes. So with that said, just wanted to let y'all know, great event. Yeah, open.
I've got a couple things. First of all, and this is kind of an outlier a little bit, but I think people need to be recognized. We had 2 folks that live in our community this past weekend that did 50-mile races, runs, whatever you want to call that. One of them was Nathan, who did it in 10 hours, a little over 10 hours. And the other, Mark Cato, who's not here, but Mark did it in 13 hours.
Wow.
So, I mean, anyway, if anybody wants to go run 50 miles, God bless them.
They made that choice.
Yeah, I know, but to do
Choices.
it, and the period is unbelievable.
I heard somebody wants to do 100 miles someday.
I know. I think both of them do, actually, from what I heard, but we'll see. The other thing is, the Shaw Center will be having the 3rd Wheels Clinic on June the 21st. It'll be at Golden View. There is a packet out there. We're trying to get everybody to do in advance of that, but if they choose to show up without the packet, we'll still try to handle them. So we need to get the word out, and if you know people, you can point them towards myself, you can point them towards Rosa. We'll get them the packet and everything, but it's June 21st, and it's free. It's pro bono. I think maybe somebody from college's firm may be working on it as well. So anyway, that's all I got.
Cool. And I'm remiss real quick. Coach Lindsay did a fabulous job. That's one of the local coaches. Sorry. Go ahead. I just forgot. I'm back to the open, well, it's not cat, the open water swim. Sorry.
Okay.
Other
What was
comments?
the service you said Shaw Center was doing?
The Wells.
Will's Clinic. You got it on the.
It's
you
on
got
the
it
marquee out
on
here.
the
It's
marquee
rolling.
out there.
It's rolling.
But we're still.
He didn't put it on the marquee
Yeah,
though.
Sarah, here's Sarah, kudos to Sarah, she was on it.
She runs,
Is that-
wouldn't know what to do with y'all.
June 16th, you can do the Call My Name tour.
Yes.
It's very impactful. If you haven't done it before, it's wonderful.
You didn't, you want me, I'll repeat
Yes.
it. June 16th, you got Call My Name tour, please keep that in mind, so yes, great event, so. Also the June 15th events as well.
They're very
coming up.
active on social to follow for updates on that. It's a good Facebook to follow.
Yep. Any other comments? All right, if not, next we'll possibly go into executive session to discuss the city administrator's annual review, South Carolina Code Section 3470A1. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Second.
Comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. right, would somebody like to make a motion to go back into regular session?
Second.
Second. Comments or discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we increase our city administrator's salary to $180,000 beginning July 1, 2025.
Second.
Comments, discussion?
I'll just add comments. I mean, Andy, working with you for the past 2.5 years has been delightful. Your passion and empathy trickle down through the staff, and it's been very clear what an asset you are to the city. So thank you for everything you do.
We appreciate you.
You're here.
So
Here.
I'll just ditto, we want to publicly thank you for your leadership and what you've done for the city to keep us moving forward in the right direction. So we thank you very much. And other comments?
No, it's been a great 4 years. It's been hard finding you, but it was a great 4 years.
All right. No other comments? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Thank you all very much. Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Comments and discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Have a great evening.